Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on Episode 5 of My Dress Up Darling Season 2. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, it was decided that for the cultural festival, there would be a sort of beauty pageant, and Marin will be representing her class. Naturally, it has fallen to Gojo to devise her costume, and despite him being willing to help with other things, it was pretty quickly understood that, he should be focusing his attention on this, especially in regards to reining in Marin because of her spending tendencies. So I guess we're just getting down to it. He's got the costume prepared, which in this case will be a sort of a casual suit, but I guess before we actually get down to it, we're checking in with Gojo and his grandfather. His grandfather, who we've seen very little of this season, because, on the one hand, the guy's like a master Hina-doll craftsman, and he's, I guess, foundational to Gojo's life and his outlook and his interest in the arts, but, last we saw of him, I seem to recall he was kind of sickly, or at least not doing remarkably well. Maybe slowing down with age is probably the best way to put it, but, all things considered, he seems to be in good spirits, if nothing else. And I guess he is sort of fulfilling a role in that he's passing on knowledge to Gojo. It's like, look, man, you gotta learn to rely on others and stuff like that. And I guess it is good that he's saying, Gojo, look, you're going to be working on all this stuff. Can I help you somehow? And I guess it is only natural that Gojo wouldn't want help, but I feel like at some point you do have to accept help at something. So, it seemed that from that last shot lingering on the rice cooker that Marin's probably going to take it upon herself to cook for Gojo. And that's interesting in a way because I seem to recall him being the more culinarily gifted of the two, and he had cooked for her on, a couple occasions now, I believe, just in general, and now again because she was sick. So, I guess in a way it's, not in a way, even. It's certainly a very sweet thing to do to take some time to make a meal for someone. And I'm sure, even if it is sort of comedically poorly cooked, I'm sure Gojo would still appreciate it for the effort, if nothing else. Okay, yeah. So I was right. Marin is doing some cooking. Although I feel like, a new problem has presented itself in that Gojo's gonna be, kind of nervous to eat this, right? Okay, yeah, so he's sort of assuming it's probably, nothing too special as befits Marin and her tastes. But I don't know. I get the feeling that the way she's acting cagey about it, it was probably something she put a lot of time and effort into. And I guess I'm having a little trouble reading Gojo here. Like, it's surely not dread, right? Like, he's not dreading this. Because, like, the ominous music here in the background makes it seem like he's really just sort of preparing for this to, like, melt a hole in his stomach. I would have assumed the anticipation would be, a good thing, But this is setting it up like he's expecting the food to be horrible. And I don't think that's necessarily a fair expectation. Okay. So she made spam and rice balls, which... Interesting. It seems like he's really just happy that it's not fried rice, I'm wondering what he has against fried rice. Because, fried rice isn't my favorite, nor do I hate it, so, I'm not sure what the deal is here, but at the same time, spam seems like something of an odd choice, although it's probably a cultural thing. I mean, if I'm being real, if someone were to make me lunch, it's better not to look a gift horse in the mouth and just accept the lunch graciously, even if, it isn't necessarily your favorite thing. And, I don't know if that's the level Gojo's operating on, or if he is truly excited for the food. Hopefully it is as good as it would seem, given the effort Marin put into it. Alright, so this is a tense atmosphere again. Gojo's wondering why it's so heavy. And that's probably because it was made with love. But I don't know. I guess, oh, alright. We're just, skipping through the actual eating of it, and now Marin's just making more and more and more. Which leads me to believe, either... Oh, never mind. Something new. I was gonna say either she has, no real cooking talent, which could be true, or she just liked him so much that she continued to make spam onigiri. So I guess, I'm wondering if the problem here is that, Gojo's taste runs more, traditional and, I guess, modest in portion is the best way to put it. Because it really seemed like, he was eating the food, but at the same time, Marin had made so much that he felt obligated to eat it all. I mean, I can certainly understand that too. If someone made a lot of food for me, I would feel obligated to at least, eat the lion's share of it. So time is steadily ticking down. We've got about 2 school weeks until the pageant, and we haven't really seen definitive progress on the costume. I mean, we have seen Gojo cutting fabric and stitching things together, but we haven't seen the whole thing come together yet. So I'd imagine we're gonna have to see something concrete pretty soon. Although it seems like, with Marin watching this with her classmates, some sort of host-related thing, I'm wondering if that's going to distract from the pageant. Although I guess this is a sort of a performance for the pageant. I guess that makes sense. She is playing, essentially, a character who is a host, so, there would have to be some routine to go along with that. I guess they're running into the standard school thing of, there are just some things you can't mention, and you also have limited time. You know, I've run into that sort of thing too at school talent shows. So it seems as though the costume's coming along. You know, Gojo's at a point where he's sewing on buttons. And I feel like when you get down to it, that's probably like the last part you would do, right? Aside from like fitting it and like final tailoring. Although it seems to me that the bento scene that was mentioned last episode from the source material, and now this whole business of Marin bringing lunch for Gojo, like this is all sort of, I don't want to say metastasizing, but I feel like Gojo will be affected adversely. Or rather, affected in a way that'll cause him to struggle with focusing on his work, you know? Ooh, okay, so it's kind of the opposite, I guess. He now understands that, like, the point of the scene is that, like, you know, you're treated like you're the only special person in the world. Which, I understand that, but maybe Gojo should have been talking out loud here. So now, well, I guess he can relate to it in a way. You know, I suppose he'll probably come to that realization that with Marin making food for him, he's sort of in that position. Or maybe, you know, everyone will recognize his talents when it comes to sewing and making costumes. Because, like, it seems to me that, like, the natural analog here is that Marin is the sort of benefactor of the scene, with the entire class realizing her singular talent. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it would be more narratively impactful to have Gojo be the recipient of this whole thing. So Marin's certainly getting into character here. I do feel a little sorry for Gojo because I feel like he didn't necessarily sign up to be a part of this in the middle of class. But, I mean, it's not like Marin has any bad intentions, you know? Yeah, you know, I do feel for the guy. It probably is uncomfortable being caught up in the middle of this, especially when you should ostensibly be working. And it seems like, someone else might be checking in on progress, you know? Ooh, never mind. Gojo's being drafted for manual labor. I guess this does make sense to a degree. You know, if you're carrying, like, big signboards and all that, you would have to get the boys to carry it, just, you know, logistically speaking. And Gojo being a tall guy, like, he's probably a good candidate to help carry things. It's just unfortunate that he's the singular talent for making the costumes, and honestly, I feel like, that work that he's doing is far more important than carrying things. I guess it can't be helped to a degree if something needs to be moved. So what I'm wondering is Marin taking it upon herself to keep working? I get the feeling she might be, and I feel like that's not necessarily a good thing, considering why she and Gojo started pairing up to work on stuff in the first place. You know, it was because she didn't really have the talent for this sort of thing. And, you know, maybe Gojo wouldn't get, you know, mad at her for interfering or anything, but more like, oh dear. It's never a good thing when you apologize preemptively. Oh dear, indeed. I wonder what she did to mess with this stuff. Like, it seemed like she was probably just sewing on a button or something, but... Oh, okay. Well, that's not so bad. She tried to sew on a button, and, you know, it didn't quite work, but this isn't anything as close to as, you know, ruining the costume or anything. So I'm wondering if, purely for sentimental reasons, Gojo's gonna leave it alone. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. So, good on Gojo. Like, even in his spare time, he's still studying up on this stuff in an attempt to just make sure everything goes right. Because, like, he says it himself, he doesn't have much experience with suits like this. Nor is he really like a tailor anyways. So, any studying he could get in would only benefit the cosplay as a whole. It probably is kind of interesting too, because like, it's already been made clear that this suit is different from like a business suit. It's got a different fit to it. So any and all tailoring would be, I guess, highly specialized. Oh, wow. Well, this seems like a crime against humanity for Marin to suppress her assets like that. I mean, I guess it's kind of necessary if she's going to be dressing up the way she is, but, man, thinking about it, that really can't be comfortable, can it, to be all, squished and contorted like that? I mean, I'm sure it produces the desired effect of changing your frame, but, man. I can't help but wonder if something's gonna go wrong here, like some sort of wardrobe malfunction, because, like, to wear an undergarment like that just sort of, like, compresses everything and flattens things out, like, I don't know. I can't help but wonder if, like, there's only a certain limit to how compressible things are, if you catch my meaning. Oh. Alright, so Gojo's noticed that the suit is probably a little big. And to be fair, he very well could be correct, so I guess now it's just a matter of tailoring things, which, I don't know, that'll be something, because, like, I've had a suit before, and when it was being fitted to me, I had to be wearing it. So, yeah, Gojo's got some work cut out for him, and I feel like it's going to be extra difficult to do all that with Marin still inside the suit. I mean, he's pretty confident that there is still enough time to, get everything done just in time for the festival, but I don't know. I feel like it might be a little bit uncomfortable. Alright, so it seems like Gojo's got a pretty good idea here in that they need to practice on the stage before everything. Because, like, I know a little bit about performing on stages and things like that, and essentially, like, acting in film is different from acting on stage, in that you kind of have to overact to make sure everyone can see you properly, like, you can kind of, like, derogatorily call it playing to the back row, where you really, really exaggerate so everyone in the back can see you, but, like, I think that's kind of what Gojo's getting at here. Like, maybe you should do, like, a little trial run. Oh, dear. I don't know who that guy is, but he is suffering. I feel like, maybe Marin should have just let that guy persist in his delusion. So I do think it is telling that Gojo is remembering his grandfather's words, that you need to rely on others here, and perhaps he's going to take that to heart. And it seems like this is the case. He's approaching someone specifically for help. This is probably a good way of doing things. You know, he's approaching someone, it's like, look, you've got the right mannerisms, so can you help Marin out here with, you know, getting everything down? Because, like, when you get down to it, like, mannerisms, I feel like it takes a certain level of observation in order to sort of pick up on mannerisms and then mimic them. You know, it's not really something that's necessarily intuitive, especially if you're trying to take on the mannerisms of someone, you know, different from you in an exceptional way, you know? So I guess it is good of Gojo to sort of step back and let this happen on its own, just because I feel like while he could probably stand in and help out here, like, he's probably not the optimal teacher for this sort of thing, and, you know, it's one of those things where the success of the pageant overall is what's most important. Oh, okay, so this guy's suffering too. You know, he's embarrassed about enjoying the series, but, like, you know, no one here's gonna make fun of him for that, right? Like, they're all fans of it too in some way. And I guess it's interesting that Gojo's the one to break the ice here, considering his problems with liking things and being embarrassed. You know, I guess it's nice that even if he hasn't fully overcome his problems, he's able to help someone else, you know? Ooh, so that's something right there. Like, the guy says, I want to brag to my sister that my friend made this outfit. And, you know, the sort of subtext there is that Gojo has made a friend. And, you know, we were sort of led to believe that he didn't really have any friends. And, you know, maybe this guy isn't, like, a good friend or anything, but, like, he's willing to call himself that. So I guess, you know, that's something. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.